Today I want to go over the tools and the accessories that you're going to need to needle tack. Now this is just for beginners, but before I go into that, I do want to say something. First and foremost, I am not an avid needle tatter. Okay, the advanced techniques and the intermediate techniques, I am still in the process of learning. Barb Granger was going to be teaching the needle tatting class, and due to unforeseen circumstances and health issues amongst the family, she had to back out. Now that doesn't mean that she's not going to do it in the future. It just means currently the needle tatting class has been put on hold as a separate class. However, through Cynthia, as everyone knows her, it will be taught in with the shuttle tatting class 30 minutes before class. Now we're in discussions of maybe lengthening the needle tatting class to get more information out there, but currently we're going to stick with the current format of 30 minutes before shuttle class. There will be a needle class. Now that doesn't mean you're not going to have access to the advanced techniques done on needle. As Barb teaches them to me, I will put them on video and add them to the class channel. And when she comes in to teach it, it's all set up so that she can teach the class according to what is the correct way to do it. Because there is a lot of misleading information out there about needle tatting, and what information is out there is limited. So with that in mind, bear with me. I will get them up as soon as I possibly can. So let's get on with learning to needle tat and learn what we need to do needle tatting. For starters, of course, we're needle tatting. We're going to need needles, okay? And there are several brands of needles that you can purchase. The most common one is the ones put out by Handy Hands. And they come in a tube like this. They're usually either individual needles or a set of needles in a package. But I take and I keep all my Handy Hands in the package together. And the nice thing about Handy Hands tatting needles are there are different sizes for different size threads as well as yarns. Now like this one, you use this one for a size 4 worsted weight yarn. Now mind you, the bigger the needle, the bigger the thread, the bigger the motif. If you were going to do just a small tatted motif using size 4 worsted weight yarn, that thing is going to be huge. Okay, it's not going to be the small little dainty thing that tatting thread will put out. It's going to be big. So keep that in mind when using your yarn needles. However, for people that love the tatted effect but can't do anything with small items due to their arthritis or something wrong with their hands, using yarns, various size yarns, can give you the same effect but in a larger platform. And it's relaxing, it's comforting to be able to achieve something so beautiful using a needle. Now, we also have Havel needles. Now these are put out by Be Stitched. Please ignore the plastic tube that they're in. This is not the tube they came in. This is just a bead tube I had laying around. And I put them in there to keep them protected, to keep them from getting bent, because it's kind of hard to bend this plastic. So I just put them in there and labeled them. And the difference between the Handy Hands and the Havels are, first and foremost, let's look at these side by side. Here is a Handy Hands size 5 tatting needle. And if you look at the eye of this needle, I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can get it up there close. You see the eye? How it's almost the same dimension as the needle. There's a reason for that. if the eye of the needle is too wide and too broad, it is not going through too easy. All right, so what you want is something that is similar in size. Now, I'm not saying you can't use one that has a larger head or larger eye, because Havel's does. All right, but you're going to tap looser on your needle to accommodate for these eyes, and it's going to give it a looser effect. All right, so the other problem with the Havel's are the points. These are very sharp. The Handy Hands is rounded, okay? So you can't jab that thing in your finger. These are sharp like a sewing needle, okay? So what I did is I took the one that I use the most that compares. It's a size up from a size 5. The Havel's run in between the sizes of the Handy Hands, so they're a great tool to have on hand, because sometimes you want to step down a needle size to get a tighter fit on the piece, and if you step down too far, the thread's not going to go through the eye, so you have a problem. The Havel's, they run in between, so you've got a choice. So it's workable, it's doable with the Havel's. But what I did, getting back to the point, is I have some jewelry tools and stuff, because I do wire work as well as tatting, and amongst a dozen other crafts. I took the file to file my wire down with, and I just blunt tipped this. Now these are still like sewing needles, and they're very sharp, and I have used them before. I blunt tipped this one, and it cut me, you know, and the last thing you want to do is get blood on your tatting. So my advice is blunt tip these, okay? Be wary of the eyes. They're a little bigger, as you can see. The eye on this one, you can really see it because it's a larger needle, but you can take your hand and run it up, and you'll feel that it's bowed out some. Now, like I said, that makes a difference in your tatting. If you tat tight, you're not going to get that needle through. Okay, you'll understand what I'm talking about when we get into actual tatting. So, just a forethought and a warning. The other brand is Laces. Now, I have not used Laces tatting needles before, so I can't review them for you. There may be tatters out there in the tatting world that has used them, but I have not, and Laces puts them out. Links to all the sites to get the tatting needles will be down below, along with places to buy tatting materials. You can't just go to every street corner and get tatting materials. It don't happen. You have to hunt for them. There are some big box stores that are starting to carry them, but what they're carrying is stuff that they should have pulled off the shelves because it was requested by the company to be pulled off, and it wasn't. So you're going to get slubs and things like that in your thread. So just expect it. Alright? Now, the next thing you're going to get, this is a picot gauge. Down the side here is the measurements for picots. Alright? Up here is, and this is put out by Handy Hands, you see these holes? That's where you measure your tatting needles. And the way you measure a tatting needle, I know this is a size 5, but you run that tatting needle through, and if it moves through like that freely, that's the size it is. Now your Havel's will not measure on here because it's the in-between sizes. Alright, they start at like 4, 6, and move up. So they're the in-between sizes. So to measure my Havel's, to make sure I'm getting the right one, if I put it in this one and it's too loose, I try this one. If it doesn't go in at all, then I know it's the one in between. Alright, so that's how I use this to measure my Havel's. So getting on with it, you've got your tatting needles, you've got your picot gauge. Next thing you're going to need is a crochet hook. See that? And the crochet hook depends on, the size of crochet hook depends on what size your picots are, which we will learn in the next video what a picot is. Alright? You probably know because you've heard it in class and you comprehended what it was, but you're going to see it in live action now. The next thing you're going to need is gum floss threaders. Needle tatters use these a lot, all right, because when you're threading your needle, you need something stout to pull that thread through. And the needle threader that comes with the Handy Hands needles, if the thread is just a little snug, that needle threader comes apart. I'm not saying that the needle threader is not a good needle threader. Don't get me wrong. It's big, it's large, but I use all my Handy Hands needle threaders for sewing needles and sewing thread, because that doesn't have the thickness that tatting thread has. Okay, so just a thought. Now the smaller threads, yeah, those Handy Hands needle threaders work great, but when you're working with the larger threads, you need something with some durability, and you'll see why in the next video when we learn to thread the needle. The next thing you're going to need is a pair of close cutting scissors, sharp ones. Number one, you do not want to shred your thread with a dull pair of scissors. Number two, you want close cutting so that when you cut your tails off, you can get right up next to your tatting without snipping your tatting. See, I can take these scissors and lay them on my fingers and not catch my fingers. These are usually found over in the embroidery section. They're not regular scissors. So don't go in the kitchen and grab your kitchen scissors and use them for tatting. You're going to cut your tatting if you do. You don't want Amazon size scissors either, because you've got all that blade you're trying to get on something so delicate and small. So invest, get you a good pair of close cutting scissors. They range in a variety of prices, but get a good pair that last a long time. These were a gift to me from another tatter, and she gave me this little fob that hangs off of it so that I got access to it all the time, and I can hang this on my chain that I wear around my neck, and my scissors are with me. And the nice thing is they've got a safety cap that locks right on, doesn't fall off. I don't know where she got them, but I love them. You can probably look around at some of your craft shops and stuff. They will probably have them, and I'm sure they come in several other colors besides purple, but purple is my favorite color. So just, I like them because I can carry them in my purse, and they're not going to stick out through the side of the purse with this cap on. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Patricia. I love them. So on that note, let's get into learning how to do the double stitch, a ring, and a chain in the next video. So until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and happy tatting.